computer. There we are. Okay, so we'll start a recording. Let's get rid of all this. Cool. So we are, if you need anything bigger or smaller, let me know so we can make sure we can read things. So let's go into the Great directory. And the idea is to see where we're at with the tests. So let's have a look at where we are. So the information here that says that we have a toString method that is undefined on our to-do list. So we're going to have a look at that first. I'm going to just double check what is actually happening in this. This has all the functionality that I want. So we have, we initialize this with empty array. We are trying to add a representation of a to-do that has description and complete. And then we have a way to change the state of a to-do. And then we're going to go through all the to-dos and create a version of a to-do that has an index and a description and a complete. So this is what we're trying to get to. A string representation of a to-do, and then join them together with a new line character. So this is all the functionality at the moment. I can see it codified, I guess, a little bit here. And that's what I'm trying to aim towards. So when I run this test in my great spec feature spec line 7, great feature spec line 7, it's telling me that I don't know what the toString method is. So let's have a look. Great spec feature spec line 7. So it goes to the to-do list and says there is no toString method. So let's go and go to my to-do list spec. And let's understand what we need to do. So we need to write a toString method. So describe a list of to-dos. That's what we're meant to be doing. So I'm just going to grab the setup. And I'm going to write my expectation that says I expect my to-do list dot toString to equal, and it's going to be pretty much the same as this. So when I add say hi, I want it to, when I create my toString version, I want my to-do list to equal say hi, not complete. So this is likely going to fail for a bit because there's probably a few things we need to do. But I pass in to do mock, and that's what I want it to do. So let's, I'm going to just focus on this to-do list spec for the moment. So I'm going to go to my to-do list spec and just focus on getting my my spec to pass. It might mean I have to write a test for other things as well, but let's see how far we get. So undefined method toString. So let's make sure we go to our to-do list now. Now that I've written this method, and we have a def toString method. And at the moment, it's passing. So clearly, I haven't written my my test very well. So my to-do list string at the moment takes in a is an instance of the to-do list, and we are creating an add method. And that's a bit bizarre. Why is this happening? Hello. Does actually, is that because I just haven't written the test properly? I have, look at that. It's not even doing it properly. Okay, so it does a string of to-dos with index. Wondering why it wasn't properly working. Quick debugging tip is just log to make sure you know what's happening. Okay, so then we wrap it in a proper if block and run our tests again. So I'm going to remove my debugging statement. Cool. So that's what I expected to see. Expected one dot say hi not complete got nil. So now I can make it work. So what I want to do here is get my to-dos and get all of them, and find a way to loop through it. So essentially what I want to do is somehow replicate the behavior that I saw in here. So I want to go through all of them and create a string version of them with an index and join them together. So let's see how far we get doing it before I need to write other things. So I want to get all of the to-dos and iterate through them and somehow convert them to a string and with an index. Like with a list number, really, is what it is. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do. And join, I guess we should put that here because I need to join them together. And join with a new line character. That's my definition done for this method. So let's have a look, see how far we get. I'm going to use this method all down here to give me back all the to-dos. I'm going to store in here instances of a to-do. So I want to map through them all, be able to store an index, and I'm going to say that the first one is the to-do, the second one is the index, and I need to convert them to a string. So I'll need to at some point do something like to-do, need to do like index. We have 0, we need to make sure it starts off with 0, then we go to 1. We're not going to start our list by 0, sorry. So let's create 1 dot. And then I need something that says to do, and then ask it to go to string. So at this point here, I'm about to write something that I don't have any specs for. I need to ask it to do strings. I'm going to stop here for this code here and go back to my to do and have a look at how do I make sure it gives me back what I need to. So for my to do to string, I need to have something that says like the description, and then whether it's complete or not, I think is what we're trying to do. I'm looking at the terrible again. I need to have a description of a to-do and whether it's complete or not. So my to-do should have description and complete. Okay, so I got to making sure I got my feature spec to pass, but before I get this to pass, I have to write my to-do list. So I wrote my to-do list of what I wanted to do, and as a result, I am now here defining this method and realizing I have to do some more work on my to-do object. So I'm going to go to my to-do spec and check. So at the moment, my to-do spec just says create an instance of to-do and expect the class to be to-do. Well, that's just quite a bit of a silly test, but there we are. I'm going to have a look at my to-do. Look at that, it just literally does nothing. Okay, so let's keep adding some tests here. So what I want this to do is have a few things. It should have, in order to get this to work, it should have a description and some kind of idea whether it's complete or not, and then this toString method. So let's see how far I can drive it with just by this toString method. So let's describe a toString method. And I want to create a to-do, and I expect the to-do dot toString to equal. I want it to equal when it's, I guess we're going to start off all our to-dos not complete, right? That makes sense. I wish I had a to-do list that starts off all my items complete. Wouldn't that be great? Just magic. Say hi, not complete, I think is what I meant to be doing. Let's double check. Terrible feature spec. Yeah, not complete. It just starts off not complete or complete. So I want that to be not complete. I guess it should be both, right? Which would be interesting. I'm going to keep this uncommented out because I think I'll do a little bit more work for that one. That should be, again, I'm missing out my it block. It returns string when not complete. I'm not thinking too much about this. Fine. Naming's difficult. Let's make sure that's inside the right block. Return string when non-complete. Not complete. To do, we create a to-do as a setup, and then we execute some code and verify that is say hi not complete. Yeah. Okay, let's run that test. To do spec. Okay, undefined method to string. Now we start work on the to-do. Def to string. And we need to make it work. So here is where I want to say something like, okay, description. We need to store a description, and then we need something here that says like status. So a couple of things I need to do is go back to my to-do spec and describe. There's a description reader method that I need. It returns the string description, just returns the description really. Description. Say hi. That's what I want that public method to do. So that should undescribed by method descriptions. Let's write it in. View reader description. Clearly, there's nothing happening with my reader method because there's no instance variable. So now we need to actually store the description. Okay, so creation has a to-do class, description returns it, and now I need to go back to my toString method. I can now use part of it, but I need a status as well. So I need to figure out a way that I can have a status. So I guess I'm going to have another reader method for description. So let's make sure I have two different kinds of state. So here, let's have state returns state. I guess we'll start off with all our to-dos being false. Guest state is actually, I don't like that. No, let's just call it, don't like it. No, don't spend too long thinking about names. Okay. It's always literally shouting at myself all the time. Don't spend too long thinking about names. We can always do that later. Always postpone decisions if you can. All right. So let's keep it like that. Run my test. And I don't have a method state. So let's add one in. State. On my to-do line 9, I had status. Let's call it, did I have status? Let's call it status then. Don't spend too long thinking about it. Oh, let's call it status. Okay, so we got say hi part, but we don't have the status part. So now we need to fix that. So we're going to start off with status always being false. And we get false, not complete. So we need to change this. So let's say simple way to go about it to begin with. If status is false, then we do something. Else, do something. I will clean it up later. So here, if it's if it's true, then we say complete. If it's false, we say not complete. Cool. So clearly I just wrote some code that I shouldn't have because we haven't actually wrote a test for this all the way around. So let's make sure that passes first or fails first. So let's do another test for when it's not complete, for when it's complete. Return string when complete to do, so and then we need to find a way that says we need to change the state. So we need to do something like complete. In which case, we should, it's going to be a public method, isn't it? So let's write a test for it. And describe complete. I guess it sets status to true. That's what the point of this method is. So we're going to create a to-do, and then we're going to say to-do dot complete, and we're going to expect our to-do dot status to equal true. Undefined method complete. So let's go ahead and write it. Def complete. Type the status and go true. So return string when complete, say hi complete got nil, in which case we can now activate that. Cool. So now I've got a to-do. I am going to move this. I don't like an if statement like this, but it helps me get through it. So I want to do something. If it's true or false, true is complete, false is not complete. So I can just capture that relationship in a key value pair. So let's go statuses as a set of key value pairs. Go if it's true. Complete. If it's false, go not complete. And okay. let's now go back to our to-do list. Now that I've got a to-do with us to string method, I'm going to run my to-do list back because I can't remember where I got to on that. I want to have a method to string for my mock. So I need to add this to my mock. To-do list on line 21. Cool. So my to-do list, I need to make sure my to-do can respond to that method. So I pass in my mock here. So I'm going to allow the to-do to receive to string and return. The thing that I'm just covering is just what the to-do is meant to do, which is return this part here. Then the to-do list will do the numbers and the spacing and everything else. Cool. Okay, so my list of to-dos is still just returning the array rather than joining it. So let's go back to my to-do list and join it together with a new line character, because I know at some point I need to, but I'm not going to write source code without needing to. So I can pass this test at the moment. So I need to add another test to cover the multiple ones. So let's just do another one, which has lots of strings of to-dos. So let's do, they're all going to say the same thing. So let's add another one that says, say hi, that's fine. So what I want this to do is say hi, new line character, to, and the same thing. Cool, so at the moment, it's not adding the new line character, it's just joining them together. So now I need to go back to my to-do list and add the so now my to-do list spec is passing the unit test. I'm going to go and run my feature spec. To-do spec feature. So I have an undefined method set complete for my to-do list. So if I look at my feature spec, I need to be able to have the ability to tell things to be complete. So I look at the set complete method in my to-do list, and I don't have one. So let's add one in. I'm going to add another describe block. Describe set complete. And make sure I don't forget to write the it block. What does it do? What does it do? What does it do? It sets the to-do be complete. Maybe I will say it asks, because I'm not actually doing any more. It asks the to-do to be complete. So in my to-do list spec, I need to go through a few of the same things. To do announce received to string, I actually don't need this anymore because I'm not actually calling this a string method, but what I want to be calling is something else, but we don't know yet, so I'm going to comment this out. We receive new to be able to create a to-do list, new add, and then we expect to do list dot set, what's it like? Set complete. And how does the set complete method work? Let's have a look. To-do list in the terrible directory, we get an index and we grab it from the array and ask it. Okay. So in my to-do list spec, I'm going to set the index. We only have one in there, so it'll be at the position 0. We ask a set complete to equal. Where if we ask the to-do list to ask our to-do to set complete, it changes its state. Let's just say that it should be true. It should return its status. So then let's run this method to see how far we get. This is my to-do list. I'm going back in my to-do list spec. Undefined method set complete the to-do list. Let's define it. Def set complete with an index. Ask to do to be complete, and we need to get all. Get does it for us. That should return an individual to do, and then we're going to say run its complete method. It runs its complete method. Undefined method complete for name to do. So in my test, I haven't told it that it needs to have a complete method. So let's go back to my spec and say that my to do needs to receive a complete method and return true. So now that my spec for this works, I'm going to then run my feature test again. Cool. So now I have a to-do list with a set of passing feature specs, can create to-do, can complete to-do, and can print some to-dos. Yeah, that's it. So let me pause.